What's all the PMS with Coach G? It's positively motivating sisters with purpose, meaning, style. Are you ready for positive conversations inspiring you to your next level? Do you need motivation to get you growing? Are you a sister, woman, leader, boss, mom, wife, female, her, she? I think you know what I mean. Are you seeking purpose in your life? Do you know the meaning for which you stand? Do you know your style is your unique authenticator? If you answered yes to any one of these questions, this podcast is designed with you in mind, which embodies the whole you, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. Sisters, we are on a journey in connecting you from where you are to your what's next with purpose, meaning, style, and it all starts with you. Hi, this is Coach G, your Chief PMS cheerleader, motivating and helping you win in your personal and professional life, your connector, guiding you and bridging the gap from where you are to your what's next. I am your leadership and growth coach strategist, empowerment speaker, best-selling author, mom, wife, Christian, and I get to serve you in doing what I am passionate about. You. Sisters, we are on a journey for you living your life on purpose, for purpose, with purpose, meaning, style. Thank you so much as you continue to come into this space with me. I thank you for listening every week. I thank you for sharing the love, which means sharing the podcast with someone else. And just thank you in so many other ways that you are walking this journey with me and all the other sisters, around the world. So thank you. But you know what? There's some other spaces that I'm grateful for, and that is that I get to be in this space to motivate you in creating habits for you to reach your success story. And so, thank you so much for making sure that you listen in every week. Hey, that's a habit, right? As you continue to educate, inspire, and elevate your growth on your personal and professional life journey. But before I begin, let me remind you that you can financially support this show as we continue on this personal and professional growth journey, from the cost of maintaining the show, from having other guests on as we empower you on your journey. So, what do? Go to the show description and click on the link, support the show, and make that donation, because your voice is saying, I stand in support of this podcast and how we serve and what we deliver. In other words, you are being a blessing so this podcast can continue to bless others. And so we are in episode 82, how to find your flow. You know, let's say this. I don't think anyone wants to be stopped up, clogged up, things not flowing in our lives, right? So let's get started. Have you ever found yourself, in a place where you're moving, you're doing things that, man, that you just have to just keep going. You're just kind of lost in that activity. You find yourself doing it, and before you know it, oh man, like I lost track of time. Do you know what that is? That means that you're in the zone. That means that you're flowing. But then there are some of those moments that there can be an interruption. There could be those things that can hinder you, that can stop that flow. And so we get to talk about what are some of those things that can hinder your flow. And then, you know what? How to find your flow. Maybe you've keyed into it. Maybe you know what that is. Maybe you have, some good days, not so good days. But you know what? When you're intentional about that, it's just like getting back into it. You correct the problem. Have you ever had a clogged sink, and then okay, I just need to get something to pour down the sink to unclog it, and then things flow again. It's not also stopped up. So sometimes it happens, but then sometimes it happens and we don't really quite know what happened. So let's talk about that. Flow, when we talk about flow, we talked about being in the zone. Flow is an action. Think of it as a freedom of expression in your work, your lifestyle, your day to day. And anything that inhibits or deprives that action can affect our focus, which may disrupt our behavior and performance. And yes, you know what? That could be personally and professionally, in your work, in your home, things that you do in your day to day. But, let's talk about the fact that that flow can allow you to meet the expectations of your inner compass, because there is that inner our inner selves that help guide us. So there is a psychologist that was known for the flow theory. His name was Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And he talked about flow, referring to it as a mental state, in which a person is fully immersed in a feeling of, you know, energized focus, complete involvement and enjoyment in the process of performing an activity, in that flow of what you're doing. So, what does that mean? Let's talk about flow. Let's talk about that. We're talking about how to find your flow, but what does that mean when you're in flow? Does it mean you're focused? Yeah, it means you're focused at a point that you can sometimes avoid distractions because you're very intentional about where you are or the space you're in. It's like, again, when I talked about being in the zone, you're so, you know, deep into that activity, like you literally deep dived into what you're doing and you're not, focusing or keeping track of that time. And then another part of that flow is having clear goals. You're clear in what you want, what you envision, and then that feedback to your actions. Immediately when you take an action, you give yourself that feedback immediately, and then just finding that balance in the challenges and skills. Well, that is that flow theory that Mihai Csikszentmihalyi talks about, that when you're in that flow, you're focused, you have clear goals, you give yourself feedback immediately, and then you balance your challenges and skills. So at that point, you're feeling empowered. Your creative thinking like erupts and you're engaging in meaningful ways. And that's how, we can and see how our flow is flowing. But then let's talk about those interrupters. There are those things that can, what I said, clog the drain. But those are those things that can interrupt our lives, things that can affect your flow. And some of those are, it's not, as I always say and share, it's not all in all. But one of those things is your own limiting beliefs. We hear it so often. What is that limiting belief that you have? What is that you're thinking or you're saying to yourself that pretty much have convinced you you're not capable of doing something or you're not enough? But that's something that could actually affect your flow. And then being not clear in your vision of your life. And that's in all areas. We talk about the whole you in this space. We talk about you, the whole you, meaning mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and socially. Because that social interaction actually boosts your mood. It boosts your energy. So that part of that whole you, are you clear in that vision for your life? What do you want to see yourself, or how do you want to see yourself mentally, emotionally in those areas? But when you're not clear, that can also interrupt the flow. And then comparison. Okay. Sometimes we may not admit that, but we often will do it, whether it's in your work, whether it's building a business, whether it's even in how you take care of your children, sometimes, or where you live, or how you present yourselves, all these things that we can compare ourselves one to another, which comparison is the enemy of progress. You can't move because you've now pretty much almost put yourself in a paralyzed state because you're comparing yourself to someone else, not knowing the in-depth story of someone else's journey. So that interrupter of comparison often can affect your flow. And then another one is stress. Okay, stress, we can face stress in so many factors, but stress can hinder your progress again by affecting your cognitive function, your decision making, your physical health, your productivity, your interpersonal relationships, as we're talking about the social, the mental well-being, all those are those whole areas of your life. Because stress can actually impede upon those areas, like I say, in relationships, in your work, in your health, in your finances, causing an emotional break, which means that it can hinder the flow in our lives if it goes unchecked. And that's what I love about this space, whatever topic of conversation that, we come in this space to talk about, creating that habit in your life to listen in, to continue to educate and inspire you and elevate your growth. That very thing is checking in with yourself. I often say, do a personal inventory of yourself. We need to do that. We talk about it in business and like, okay, what are your quarterly goals? Or, even personally, what is your annual goal? But even in that, you check along the way because you've created a plan for your life. What do you see your life as? What makes your life feel better? But we have to check those areas. We have to see where we are mentally. Check in with yourself. See where you are emotionally. See where you are spiritually, physically, financially, and socially. Do an inventory on yourself. Check in. Which brings me to, I have mentioned before that I offer a monthly group sessions where we come together, women at Sister T Talk. We have the boardroom, which are for women leaders and entrepreneurs and boss queens that we come together in this space, once a month, just as well as Sister T Talk, the ladies' room, which is open to ages 17 and up at that point. But it's a check with other women on their journey, where we are. Let's talk about what can help us live, better versions of ourselves. Or maybe we're needing to connect the gap, maybe we need to find out what that gap is. Or maybe we need to see what's hindering the flow. Maybe you've never, you know, been introduced to come on to Sister T Talk. Of course, that is going to be in the show description. You can go there and register. It's free. And you come into that space, but come into that space where we intentionally talk about things that can continue to help us grow in our personal and professional life. And then, you know what? Your environment can affect your flow, which still continues with, what spaces are you in? What spaces are you allowing yourself to be in? Are those spaces helping you flow positively in a direction which promotes that growth and healing? So what is that environment? That environment often can affect your flow, interrupt if you're in a space negative or toxic. Often those are those ways when you identify that, you now say, okay, let me give myself permission to get into spaces that will help me engage more in a positive direction. I'm not saying we run from all negativity, because sometimes negative situations build our resilience to move us into our next. So, I'm not saying, we're all in holly jolly land and, everything is roses and sunshine. Yes, we do have those moments where we may be in an environment that can affect that flow, but that's that check-in. And then now you realize, because the first point of making a decision to do something different is to actually assess where you are and see what you want for your life. That's setting a vision in all those areas of your life. So Lynn, let's go ahead. Let's talk about how to find your flow. Just maybe some questions you can ask yourself along the way. Because maybe, oh man, you're in the middle of the day. You often use like, I feel stuck. I can't think, clearly. I don't know, what I want to do or what's next. Or so let's ask some questions. One of those questions is it rewarding? You know, essentially, sometimes we have to look, what I say, internally, you know, that internal motivation. What's motivating you to keep moving? What is that something maybe you hear or you're involved in or you read that keeps you moving, but you're feeding internally to now put an action forth externally. So ask yourself, is it rewarding? And then another question, going back to the goals, are you clear in your goals? Because often if we're not clear, think about something. If something's not clear, recently I went and had my, eyes checked, and how we go through, the 1, the 2, and it's blurry and all those things. Just imagine when you're looking at that, if it stayed in a blurry state, you wouldn't see your way. You wouldn't see those letters. You wouldn't see what it's going to frame or what it meant. That's your life. When you're not clear in your goals, that's that blurred vision. So how can you see which way to go if it's blurry? So create, clear goals for yourself that keeps you in flow, that you know what to check into. And then are you providing yourself with immediate feedback, going back to that flow theory, feedbacks of your actions immediately? Are you, when you set a goal or you see the vision that you want for your life and you start setting, short-term, long-term goals or step-by-step goals, let's just go to step-by-step. You take that first step and you see what that means and for you. And then now at that point, think about it. Progression is better than perfection. Now, I've shared with you often, I am a recovering perfectionist. So sometimes I would avoid doing things unless it was perfect, unless it was right. But how can I give myself feedback if I never take the step to do it? So take the first step. Often is what I say, take the first step. And then is there a balance in the challenges and skills? Because we're following this flow theory, but there are those questions to ask yourself. Is there a balance? What control do you have in the task or goal set? Because sometimes we can, set a goal that is way out there, and it's nothing wrong with setting a vision or setting a goal that makes you shift out of your comfort zone. But to, in a healthy way, move towards your goals, make sure that you, even though you're stepping out of your comfort zone, where I am, because sometimes some tasks can be so overburdened that you lose interest. See, that'll stop the flow. Or sometimes you can put so much on you at one time that can stop the flow. Or sometimes you're not challenging yourself enough. That can stop the flow, because you know what, your skills pretty much match that challenge. And it's like, okay, there's no real challenge here. But something to find that happy place, which is that balance to help you move, can keep flowing to your next. And then that last question is, are you present in the moment? Are you in that moment of taking in what matters, what you're doing, how it feels. Is it invigorating? Is it detoxing? Is it heavy? What are those emotions? Actually being aware of those emotions to help you flow. Because even something as much as, oh my goodness, this is too much, or this is overtaxing, which can probably hinder your flow. But know what that is in that present moment, being present in that moment of what you're doing, the action you're taking, what it feels like, all of that. And of course, we can go in much more detail, of course. And that's why we have Sister T Talk that you're definitely invited to come to. You just, again, go to the show description. That's why I offer one-on-one coaching. That's why we have group coaching. That's why I come and speak to your organization so we can set some plans and activities and assessments. That is why all that is there. And that is why I do what I do. Because often when we're clear in our goals, we become clear in we need to become clear in our why, which creates clarity in your steps, which creates a flow that even sometimes, remember, as often as you use that sink, running that water, and all of a sudden one day it's clogged up. But it was flowing at first, right? Sometimes we come to those moments where maybe it's the fact that you are challenging yourself so great to the next level, and now you need, some help. You need some guidance to help you move into that next. And you know what? That's what I'm here for. And so I just thank you, which brings me to this moment. Thank you for giving me the permission to invite you in taking steps into your next step into the flow of things, as your coach, as your guide, and helping you move forward, and helping you being accountable for your actions and connecting you from where you are to your what's next, because you are meant to live your best life. You are meant to grow and win in every area of your life. And you know what? On purpose, for purpose, with purpose, meaning style. And what does that look like? Again, one-on-one coaching, leadership growth coaching, again, utilizing my speaking services for your event. And all you have to do is go to the website, gstylecoaching.com, touch the contact. It's in the show description, in the episode details. Look for the link, schedule it. Let's work together. Let's win together. And in the meantime, continue to share the love, sisters. Continue, share it to your group. Maybe you have a group, a community, share it. Y'all talk about it. Talk about some of these topics on the podcast of what we're talking about. And you know what? If it's something you want more of, hey, put it in the comments. Send a message. You can share your comments. You can go to the show description. It's there. Where you can share your comments and say, "Hey, I want to hear more about this," or "Can we have someone talk about, this topic of conversation?" Whatever that is, because we are in this space to grow, and we are in this space to grow intentionally, on purpose, because you're meant to grow in every area of your life. You're meant to be fulfilled in every area of your life. And so thank you so much. Continue to share, sisters, and blessing this podcast. I thank you because your voice matters. And you know what? If you haven't subscribed, subscribe today. Follow. Please rate the podcast. That speaks volumes. That helps us reach more people, and people and women on their journey, or women that's women-owned businesses, or owning their organizations. That helps expand our reach. So let's keep bridging the gap and expanding with each other. And please keep continuing to do what you do, which means showing up, listening. Everything that's said may not be all in all for you. It may even be for someone else for you to share with. But in that, Let's continue to grow together. And I want to thank you as you continue to support this show. And in saying all of this, until next time, sisters, let's keep growing because it all starts with you.